I'm gonna read Ricky Call's information from the Vote 411 site, even though he's not here. And then I'll introduce Kyle Sensabaugh and have him make his opening statement. And then I'll do the same thing for Ricky Stumbo, and those are in alphabetical order. Ricky Call's Vote 411 site says that he has 13 years of experience as a town councilman and 4 years as vice mayor. He has seen the start to improvement, he says, in the business district with walks, curbs, and landscaping, and some community development block grants that were dedicated to revitalization, housing, storm drainage improvement. He has 18 years of experience in construction, in grading and excavating. Ricky Call says that he understands infrastructure and upkeep that would be applicable to possible future projects like a walking trail or possibly a new EMS building. And he has 18 years experience as a small business manager, which he says helps him understand how town operations should go. He also focuses on good communication with staff and working together as a team. Kyle Sensabaugh, who is with us, was born and raised in Columbus, Ohio. He was a student at Emory and Henry College from 2009 to 2013 and has decided to make Southwest Virginia his home. He has been a Glade Spring resident since 2016 and purchased his first house in Glade Spring in 2017. Kyle Sensabaugh is currently building a house and hoping to make Glade his home for quite some time. He's the Director of Housing Services for People Incorporated. He also serves as assistant coach for the women's basketball team at Emory and Henry. He's married to Annie Grace Sensabaugh, who was formerly Annie Grace Serber. They have a 3-year-old daughter, and his grandmother also lives with them in Glade Spring, Virginia. So welcome, Kyle Sensabaugh, and we'll let you go ahead with your opening statement.
Thank you. Well, you read pretty much everything important about me. But I am the Director of Housing Services for People Incorporated. I am new to Southwest Virginia, new to Glade Spring, Virginia. I don't have much years experience in anything political or on council-wise, but I am very open to any kind of problems. I like to listen. I like to be involved. My main reason for wanting to run for council was, instead of sitting back and just watching things or complaining, why not take part and do my part in it? So I felt like I needed to step up to the plate and kind of be a voice of reason. So that's why I'm here.
All righty, thank you. And Ricky Stumbo is a lifelong resident of the Monroe District of Washington County. He's been a resident of the Glade Spring town since June of 2019. He has served Glade Spring as a volunteer since 2006. He worked for the Glade Spring Police Department from 2009 to 2018. As a first responder, he's helped during lots of emergencies ranging from medical calls, motor vehicle crashes, natural disasters, and fire emergencies. The ability to serve this community in its time of need, along with serving on town and county committees, has provided him an opportunity to learn about the challenges of citizens of Glade Spring and what they face. Mr. Stumbo has already established a human connection with the citizens and with the businesses in the town of Glade Spring and Washington County. So Mr. Stumbo, you can go ahead with your opening statement.
First, I'd like to thank you all for hosting this event for us and the candidates of Glade Spring. You do, for many years, you've done a good job taking care of the candidates and making sure our voices are heard, and I'm grateful for that. I do want to apologize. I'm coming to you from work, so if you see me mute you or turn the screen away, I've got to take care of a couple issues that may arise. So bear with me. I'm working from my vehicle today. I'm super excited for the opportunity to serve in a new capacity for the community and work with the new council and hopefully some new council members that may be joining me on the town council of Glade Spring, and look forward to adding some vision, some new vision and direction for what our citizens may need and what our citizens may want.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Stumbo. And I'm just going to call you all by your first names. We're going to be real casual and we're going to jump into these questions. And I think I'm going to try to just ask the question and let you jump in, whoever wants to go first, and see how that goes. So I'll try to avoid a situation where one person's answering first every time. But let's just start with the first question, which is about revitalizing the town. In the words of one citizen, Glade Spring had a revitalized downtown a few years ago. And the question was, what do you think encouraged that revitalization, and how can it happen again? If nobody wants to jump in, then I'll just call on Kyle.
Okay.
Ricky just unmuted himself. I think he was getting ready to speak.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was just making sure I didn't speak over anybody. So that revitalization project kind of started, to the best of my recollection, when I started working for Glade in 2009. The previous council and current council had worked on some grant opportunities and research done to bring new businesses into town, which over the last several years, there's been many different businesses that pop in and out of town. Some have survived and some have not. As far as focusing back on that, there's obviously a need for our downtown core district to have thriving business to bring in tax revenue so we can accomplish goals for not only the businesses, but also support the rest of town. So I do recall a lot of conversation from citizens of concern about not just focusing on the downtown area and completing a revitalization for the entire town limits. So I think it's going to take some research to what would make that successful on my part to start that process again. But I do have confidence in the current council in doing that.
Okay. Kyle?
I don't know too much about the past for revitalization of downtown, so I can't speak on what caused that. Going forward, I think it's just kind of getting the word out, talking to people, letting people have a voice, and trying to see what they want to do. A lot of companies since I've been here has tried to, make a home downtown, find a place downtown to support their business, and I think a lot of it is just getting the word out, letting people know what's around, getting some kind of draw to the area for why it's there. My father-in-law owns Serber and Son, long-standing place in downtown, but it fits a need for the community, and I feel like that's the big reason why it's continuing to go. So I think that just trying to get some passion and some drive around what we have going on in Glade, and I'm here to try to provide any kind of opportunities I can for that.
There was a follow-up question on that topic. It was kind of a very direct question. What do you see as obstacles to bringing more business to the commercial zone, and how do you overcome them?
I think obstacles are engagement. If you bring something to an area, you believe in yourself and you can bank on yourself, but there has to be engagement from the community. The community has to want it. They have to want to see what you see. They want to see your vision, and it has to be something that's going to fit the mold of what the community needs.
Ricky, what would you add to revitalizing the town?
So as far as the obstacles, I agree with Kyle. Participation from the community, so the council and governing bodies and committees knowing what you want as far as business and industry in our community, but also looking at what we have and what we might be missing. Because I would hate to bring in 5 of the same type of business and have them competing in an area where they can't all sustain. So I think it's going to take some research on the town side and the citizen side to say, we've got, for instance, a grocery store. So if we brought in 3 or more grocery stores, that wouldn't be beneficial to any of those parties. So my concern would be researching what we have and bringing in businesses that can thrive and meet a new need, but also complement each other.
Okay, the next question is about the salt trail. And this is a question that's been, I think, on the table for quite a long time, because the salt trail is opened up at least for a certain distance, but not for the rest of the way. But before it's going to benefit Glade Spring, it needs to be connected to the downtown. So do you know what the status is of the salt trail and what has to happen for this project to be completed?
I am unfamiliar with that project of the salt trail or what they're trying to do there, or the conversation, so I don't really have a good answer for that.
Okay, how about you, Ricky? What do you know about that?
That project was started on a grant process while I was working for the town. So I'm familiar with some aspects of it and participation, but not all of it, because as councils changed and leadership of the town changed, those projects went different directions. But I did attend the most recent town council meeting, and that project is back on the table. And to the best of my understanding from the current council, is their desire is to complete that process. So I would agree that that would be a beneficial service to the town to have that trail connected so that you can access it from town. As far as how long how far that is on the timetable, it's going to be whatever that connection that VDOT has with that program now with the current council. But I am confident that the council's that's there now is moving that project forward to the best of their ability.
So I guess I just take it from what your comments are, Ricky, that you would support expanding the trail, depending on what it takes to get it connected to downtown. Would you like to weigh in on that as well, Kyle?
I didn't know about the project before, but I definitely would support it. I think having a trail that would come towards the town and being able to allow people to visit downtown Glade would be awesome. But I don't know how that happens or how that works. I haven't been part of that conversation, but I would be in support of further conversation along those lines to keep making that happen.
Okay, well, we'll move on from this topic. As a user of the Salt Trail, I was particularly interested in that project, and it will be interesting to see what it does take to complete the project when the new council convenes and to see what's on the table. Then the next question was about the farmers market, that the town has built a farmers market building and opened a senior citizen center recently. And are there any other projects that you all have in mind that you would like to see?
I don't necessarily have a set project in mind. I think the farmers market was awesome. We visit the farmers market. I enjoy it. I think that was a great idea. I know I've been a part of a couple conversations. Even in the past, there was some conversations about bringing a fitness or gym area to Glade when Dirk was talking about that originally. And I sat in on a couple of those meetings. I thought that was awesome. I don't necessarily have a set thing that I want to bring or that I'm like pushing for or trying to make any promises for anything. I just more so want to be part of the discussion and bring any kind of input I can. Once I dive into something and once I'm involved, and that's when my creative mind and creative thinking of what can happen and what's actually reasonable accommodation that can happen starts to kick in.
Okay, Ricky, the farmers market, your view of the farmers market and other projects that the town should fund?
So absolutely, the farmers market is an important aspect to what the council and the grant projects and the farmers market committees and Project Glade. It took a large group of people to complete that. And you mentioned the senior center. I think the question of the statement talked about the senior center being new, and I just want to make sure everybody realizes that senior center is not new. That's a long-standing and important asset in the town, and I think both have to be supported. There's more than one group of people, one age group, one of everything, so we've got to reach out to everybody in the community. Again, with Kyle, I don't know that there's one specific thing that we could all say this is the one thing we want to do. My focus is for me is to make sure that the things that we are providing as a community, those are sustainable now and long term. And there are things, and the fitness center was something that came up. I remember when Lee Coburn was the mayor, they had town hall meetings throughout different churches and community centers in Glade. And that was something that all age groups of our community wanted. Not just a physical fitness center, but a community center that would allow them to take children, teens, the elderly, a place for everybody to go, no matter the season, and be able to work out, read, all manner of opportunities. Almost like, is it the fitness or wellness center in Marion has more than one thing that it offers. So that was what I took, and I hate that we've not been able to move that. So I would like to see some focus go to that area when available.
I'm just going to follow up, Ricky, because I appreciate you correcting me on that question. And I had actually wondered about that because I didn't think that it was recent. I know that senior citizens building has been there for a long, long time, but I wonder if maybe have there been any renovations? Was there something new that had happened, or was that just a mistake with the question?
It may be a mistake with the question. They've as long as I've been in Glade Spring, they've been functioning. I mean, they provide meals for the community. That's a rentable facility. They'll let you come in and rent that facility and have events. And there's several other projects. The community watch is held there that the sheriff's office helps hold. I know the police department participates with that. I just wanted the community to know that it's there, and that's a thriving little organization that we need to take care of.
Okay, well, we appreciate you making that point and straightening us out on that. Okay, the next question is about the library. And the library takes investment. And some people, as I understand it, may have the idea that there's no need for libraries anymore, that we're in a new age and everything's changed, so you don't need libraries. So what are your views of the library, what its role is, and how much investment it might be worth to the town of Glade?
I actually fully support a library. Being with People Incorporated, our Head Start program utilizes that library. My niece and nephew utilize the library. My family does. I think the library is great. I grew up in a library. We used to have like summer programs growing up that I remember where you could read so many books, you got so many points, and there was like little like competition and stuff. I always am a big fan of it. I think that it is important to keep one around in all communities for so many different things besides just for like kids reading and growing, but everybody just being able to have a place where you can get by and do some stuff. We have a college right down the road. We have people that don't necessarily live on campus. We have people that live here in Glade that rent in Glade that they can go over there and utilize for like a safe place to read and study. Even an environment like, I know right now with COVID having to have spaces off, but being able to go to a workspace where you can sit and just relax and focus on something. I know for this meeting, it was hard for me to find a quiet space in my house with kids and dogs and family members, just having a place like that where you can actually focus in on something you need. Areas like the library is what brings that community, brings that to the community.
Ricky?
I'm glad we brought up the library because I'll just be honest. Before working for the town, libraries weren't really something that was on my focus. I was still young, and I probably would have told you in the late 2000s that I didn't think they were important. However, working with the town when they were going through the project of opening that library, I fell in love with the facility, the people that organized the county, the town side of the library, and I am super excited about the opportunity for expansion at that facility. The movies in the square they conduct, the programs they put on for all generations of people have blown my mind what the library puts on. That is a valuable part of the community that we must take care of. I'm afraid that if we don't do something to help people realize what the library offers, that they're missing out on things. I remember when I came to the Abingdon Library and we done Halloween lock-ins and all the things we got to do. So it's just another outreach for reaching the youth, really.
I don't know exactly what the question is to go with this, but one of the citizens talked about the fact that the second floor of the library needs to be expanded. And I was unclear about what the library is doing about wireless access. Do either of you have a comment about that?
Well, the expansion of the second floor is actually being talked about in council now. And I believe that there were some conversations around getting some quotes of what that was going to look like and some available funding for what that was going to take. I don't know about your second question, but I know that I was virtually a part of the last council meeting and it cut off like halfway through, but the last two before that was in conversation. The library upstairs was in conversation the last two meetings prior to that I went to.
All right, and so I assume that you're saying you would support that.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Ricky, what would you like to add to that question?
So yeah, that was one thing I left off, is knowing that the library has the ability to double its size and double its resources. I've been tickled to death every time this topic comes up, because really when it was designed and remodeled, there's an elevator shaft there, which is going to be one of the requirements to finish that upstairs. You may not realize it's there, but it's there and waiting for an elevator and waiting for the funds to expand. And that will just open up that many more opportunities for the community to utilize the facilities. So I'm excited for those opportunities and would support them. As far as the Wi-Fi connectivity, I don't know that about the library side, but I know the town has been working with the town, the police department, and I remember, I think the farmers market, that they have started a wireless connectivity research and they've implemented some of that there, but I haven't been educated on exactly what was going on with that beyond knowing that they're working on it.
Okay, well, we understood that there may be some people at the pavilion and they may be using the wireless. If somebody can send that information to Mary and maybe she can send it to me on chat and I'll try to update people if we can get any information on that. Your comments lead perfectly into the next question because you mentioned police. What suggestions do you have for improvements in the police department or the ambulance service?
I'll just go ahead and take that one, Kyle, if you don't mind. The police department's gone through some restructuring several times over the last years, and I can tell you from the time I left to the guys that are serving there now, there's been steady improvement, and I'm honored to work alongside those guys every time I have the opportunity. We always hear that we want 24-hour coverage and protection in law enforcement, and I hope that's a goal we continue to push toward. As far as the ambulance service, the tricky part about that is, that's a county required provided service. So the county's more in charge of the EMS side of things. The town is in charge of fire and law enforcement. As far as EMS, the county has a contracted private service there now. And though there was some controversy through that process, we now have I don't want to say a better service. We had a great service, but we have more available trucks in emergencies. So right now we're operating 7 days a week with 2 paramedic staffed ambulances in our community. And Monday through Friday, unless something's changed, I understand that we have a BLS truck. So during the weekday, we have 3 ambulances staffed in the town unless they're on a call at all times. I don't know what much more improvement could go in that direction for EMS, but I do believe law enforcement 24-hour coverage should continue to be a goal.
Okay, thank you, Ricky Stumbo. And Kyle, what do you want to say about that?
I'm glad Ricky took that one because I knew he would know all the ins and outs of that. I don't know of where I would start with improvement. I'm not qualified enough to speak on that right now. I'm very ignorant to how all of that comes together for this town. So, I definitely know a lot of the guys on the law enforcement and for our fire department and respect and love every one of them. So, I don't know too much about the EMS. I know it's kind of one of those things where you don't know too much about it unless you need to know, and I hope I don't need to know anytime soon.
Okay, well, we're just zipping right along. The next question is about boundary expansion. I know that as the term annexation, and I'm not sure whether there's any difference or not, but do you support the idea of expanding the boundaries of Glade Spring, and how would the town get moving on such a process? Kyle, let's let you start with this one.
Wait, you said Kyle or Ricky? I'm sorry.
Yeah, Kyle, because you're already up there.
Is the boundary expansion, is that for what they're referring to as far as going on the other side of the interstate to try to collect some of the revenue from the truck stops and stuff? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, I think that's the idea, is that the town has to work with the county to expand the boundaries of the town, and then you get the extra tax base of the property that's within the new boundary.
Which is understandable because what you're looking at is trying to take the revenue from what's already generated down on the other side of that, where that exit's at. I don't know too much about where the boundaries are or where they were cut off or where any kind of conversation was. I'm not, too keen on knowing about those boundary lines to answer that.
Well, and I guess part of the answer would be, if the town decides to try to expand the boundaries, then what they have to do is offer some kind of service. What is it that people are going to get if they get included in the town and pay town taxes? So if you have anything to add to that, you can do so, or we'll just let Ricky take the question.
I think I'll let Ricky, because I don't know what would be the give and the pull from that situation. I don't know if increasing the boundary line, what the town will be giving or what we'll be pulling from in that situation. So I don't know well enough to answer that question.
Ricky?
So you have brought up a hot topic. I don't know if you guys remember, but that has come up several times over the last, I'd say 30 years. But around the 2009, 10, 11 timeframe, the council then had worked on that process. And before then, I would have known nothing. But I do understand, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but to the best of what I learned then, an annexation would be the town pretty much bringing a lawsuit or a court case or something of that nature against the county trying to expand the boundaries of the town, which is not anything unusual. That's the way a lot of communities do it. We also learned that the boundary adjustment would be an agreed upon adjustment of the town's boundaries between the county and the town. And I know when the council worked then, they were wanting to work on a boundary adjustment over a period of time and decide what was good for town, what was good for the county and the residents that would be affected on both sides of that. So I don't ever recall there being a talk of an annexation because that's a much more lengthy and costly process. I am in favor of research. When I do believe when we went down that path then, there wasn't enough information and there really wasn't a lot of support behind it, which probably created more heartache than anything good. So I am a believer we at least must conduct the research to find out if it's feasible for us to expand. Because whoever that question come from is right that you have to justify a service you're going to provide your new residents, different from what they're receiving already. So you also have some negatives that you could affect your current citizens and business. So I think it's going to take some lengthy research with the citizens of the town and the businesses participating in that research to find out what's the right move.
Okay, thanks. Do either of you want to say anything else about that? If not, we'll move on. Okay, the next question is about blight removal. How big of a problem is blight in Glade Spring? And what do you think maybe could be done to speed up the process to remove some of it? Let's let Kyle take this one first again this time, please.
Well, this is going to be two questions in a row that I don't have too much of an answer for because I'm unfamiliar with the issues that Glade's struggling with blight.
Okay. Ricky, what about blight?
I'll feel free to jump back in. That again has been another sore topic throughout different councils. And what we've learned is there are buildings and properties that are either unsafe or just unsavory to view, but it becomes a legal issue for somebody to have to clean those up. So it ends up being a court battle. I know that the town has gone through a process with several places that have since cleaned up or fixed the issues. Actually, the farmers market was able to fix one of the so-called eyesores by replacing the buildings that were there. I know there's a couple of buildings that's been in the process of falling in, collapsing that they're working on. And I do know that the attorneys have been working that through the court system. But then again, some of those properties may be astronomical in cost to either clean up, repair, and make safe. And at least one of them would almost bankrupt the town to take on that responsibility. So it's not an easy fix. But I'm a firm believer that with enough heads put together, we can find a solution. But I agree there are some properties and areas around town that need to be cleaned up. I've seen at least 2 more being cleaned up in the last 2 weeks, but it took someone purchasing that property and moving forward on that process.
I just haven't heard too much conversation around that as much. I was at one town council meeting, I think last month, when they mentioned one of the houses, and probably Ricky, you know what I'm talking about. But like being kind of an eyesore and trying to be able to do something. But outside of that, I haven't heard of any issues relative to this yet. So this will be new to me and something that I'll have to listen in on and try to gain focus on.
Okay. Transparency, according to a citizen, is a problem in many levels of government. And how can the Town Council of Glade Spring do a better job of keeping people informed as to what's going on?
I think that's a good point. I mean, you have a problem with transparency no matter what it is in the work field. It's a small town community. Everybody wants to kind of be in the know. Everybody wants to know what's going on because it impacts and it affects everybody. So it's a fair assessment and, a fair want. I think the biggest thing is just trying to make sure people know when they can be involved. Until here recently, I really didn't know much about town council meetings. And that's not a knock towards anybody on council or anything else right now. It's just my own self. It wasn't none of the avenues that I was using or anything would point me in a direction to a Monday town council meeting. And then, I started following on Facebook, and I know that ads are starting popping up. Then I'd get reminders about it. So I think it's just trying to reach out to somebody that might maybe in some different avenues and lights that we might not think about right off, to let them know of like meetings that's going on, projects that's going on. I know recently on Facebook, I've been seeing some posts from the town of Glade. They talked about a grant that was coming in to help with some of the houses or like restructuring some homes and some stuff like that. So putting out things like that, and then there's some conversation, what is this for? Who's eligible? So being able to have an open group forum, some communication, and just reaching out to different, whether it's social media avenues or, just some discussion around that is going to help with the transparency. There's always going to be some things that until you get enough information out, people don't want to share, because you don't want to share half of a story without an ending. So that's always going to be part of it and has to be understood. But for the other things, I think it's just trying to make sure we're reaching all members of our community.
Okay, thanks. Ricky, how would you make it easier for people to know what's going on in the town?
I can get you unmuted there. I'm sorry. I agree that it's been a process of learning. When I was working for the town, we had the similar concern of getting the information out. Do we mail it? Do we email it? Do we go door to door? And what I've seen is the utilization of social media during this process seems to have helped get information out. More people through probably Facebook posts are seeing the information, the ads about projects coming up, and I'm hoping that will stir their participation. Because without community participation besides the board or the council, that's you kind of have a gray area there where they're missing information that they're probably going to be interested in. So if the salt trail being completed is something you're interested in, finding a way to be able to get information or participate alongside the council and the committees that plan that, and sharing that with your friends, your neighbors, and letting them know what's going on, I think that's what it is. It's going to be word of mouth, should help us, but social media and getting this stuff out from the council meetings like they're trying to do now probably will be the #1 resource. And I think it'll continue to become more important for social media platforms.
Okay, we're down to the last question. We're just zipping right along, and this has been very interesting to me, and I appreciate your all's participation very, very much, and appreciate the league again for setting this up. So in the last question, I want to kind of tie your work experience and backgrounds to your vision for the town. So if you would just talk about your career and your previous career experience and what you've learned from those experiences and how that might shape your vision for Glade Spring for the next 5 to 10 years.
It's a good question. For me, my career has been very different. I, like many kids and young adults in college, probably didn't know what they wanted to do. They thought they might have knew what they wanted. I thought forever I wanted to be in the sports world and coach. And so I started off coaching right out of college. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed every bit of it, but there was a part of me that kind of wanted something a little different. And I didn't really want to move away and travel with coaching. I kind of wanted to stay put. I found home here, found my wife here, and I started working in retail. I worked at Lowe's for 4.5, almost 5 years. I was assistant store manager. Honestly, I didn't know anything about home. I still don't. I can change a light bulb and do a couple things, but I'm not a big home guy. So just that learning experience got me to get better at knowing some of the things there. But the biggest thing for me was just working with people. I just liked different families coming in and trying to see their vision and kind of work with them. I did that for a while, and then now I'm in my career at People Incorporated. I came over not knowing what to expect out of that company, and it is absolutely phenomenal. If you don't know too much about People Incorporated, I'd love to have a longer discussion about you, because I'm sure you don't even know the half of what we do there. I don't even know, and I've been there for a couple of years. But it's just working directly with people individually, trying to, and this is kind of like what I feel like would be good for running for council, because we hear people out all the time. We hear what's going on. We hear their stories. We hear their lives, and we try to find a way to enhance it, whether that's housing, whether that's getting them into a better place than they were yesterday, whether that's getting them some kind of assistance, some kind of push, some kind of direction, is what we offer. And that's literally what I get to do every single day of my life, is work with individuals, try to help them get to a better situation than they were in yesterday. And I touch many different lives, many different scenarios with people. So I think that that's kind of like a little niche that I love. Every single job I've had has always been in kind of either a leadership role and working with people. So it's kind of what I enjoy. It's kind of what I love to do. And I think that that would carry over pretty well running for council.
All right, thanks. And Ricky, how about you? Your career, your previous experience, how does that all come together for any kind of vision that you have for Glade Spring?
So obviously being a first responder, law enforcement, fire, EMS, all those things, I have a passion for those careers, those volunteer members, and ensuring that we're capable of responding to the needs of not only Glade, but the surrounding county we serve. The beauty of the way the council is structured and the amount of members we have, being at 6 plus a mayor, brings that much more variety of people onto that council. So Kyle's going to have contacts with people that I would never know. He's going to have experience that I would never know, and vice versa. But us all coming together means we're able to pull from other places for resources for our community. And I don't mean to sound bad or say anything negative toward anyone, but Glade sometimes has felt like it's been on the back burner of priorities. Obviously, more than 30 years, I know much more than that since the last boundary adjustment. Whether we should do that or not, I don't know. But it's just we've been status quo for so long that I almost feel like our community has been irrelevant. And it's my hope that we improve the quality of life for the people in town, whether our boundaries grow or not. If we improve in town, we've also assisted the people that live just outside or travel to our area in the county. So obviously I'm going to be focused toward public service, but that will not be a shortfall for the other priorities, the ballpark, the Little League, the Salt Trail Farmers Market. And I'm excited for the opportunity to work with Kyle, Rick, and everybody else that's on council and moving our town forward.
All right, those sounded like closing statements, but we have time built in for closing statements. So I guess we'll just go back. Let's see, I wanted to try to do this sensible. We'll do this alphabetically and let Kyle, you'll start on the closing statement.
Well, I appreciate the time. Great questions. I know there's a lot of things I don't have answers to, a lot of things that I'm not in the know about yet. I'd love to get more in the know, whether I'm on council or not. I want to know what's good for my community. I want to know about my community. Once I get into something and get involved, I put myself all in. So I'm looking forward to it. I've enjoyed the meetings, the recent ones I go to. I love the council that we have. I love the people that's running for it. I think Ricky and Rick are both awesome guys, and I look forward. We talk all the time. We're constantly in messages about things. Me and Ricky was talking earlier today before this. It's just, I think that this will be a great opportunity, and I look forward to having the honor to try to represent Glade Spring in councilman.
Thank you very much, Kyle Sensabaugh. Ricky Stumbo, your closing remarks.
You're right. I probably closed out on most of my remarks earlier. I feel kind of lucky that all the questions that were asked were unfortunate for maybe Kyle, but I had some insight on them. But there's tons of other questions and circumstances and processes we're going to go through that I know nothing about. And I'm coming on board wanting to become more educated in ways to operate as a councilman or council person and to serve the community. The relationships we've been building slowly but surely, I'm confident in those and everybody that's currently serving. I just hope by this process we can all find a way to inspire more people to want to participate and want to serve, because there's more than plenty of places in our little community that people can serve. And I hope we inspire new council members.
All right, thank you very much, Kyle Sensabaugh and Ricky Stumbo. Thank you very much, candidates for Glade Spring Town Council. I like the concept of inspiring people to participate. And in that vein, I want to thank the League of Women Voters again. We may not have a lot of people at this meeting, but at this forum, but other people will have other opportunities to hear you guys and to be inspired by your commitment to service. It's very inspirational to me. So thank you once again for coming. And I guess just we'll remind everybody that the polls are open from 7 to 7. I don't know if that's right, 6 to 7. Anyway, they're open on Tuesday, November the 3rd, and we'll see the results of the election then. I know that early voting is open now, and I won't try to mess up by trying to say when and where that is, but you can find out from the Washington County Registrar. So thank everybody one more time, and I will just say good night.